Welcome to Right Now with Scrivener, where writers talk about how they work, how they develop their ideas, and how they use Scrivener, the app built for long-form writing projects. I'm your host, Kirk McElhearn, author of Take Control of Scrivener. Today I'm happy to welcome Jonas Enander. Jonas Enander is a Swedish astrophysicist, and his book is called Facing Infinity, Black Holes and Our Place on Earth. Jonas, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You first published this book in Swedish, and then it was published in English. Did you translate it? Did you rewrite it? A lot of the book, it talks about interviews you've done with famous astronomers, so you presumably did those in English. What was the process of that part of the production of the book?
Yeah, exactly. So it was first published in Sweden in 2024 and then published in English in both the UK and the US this year in 2025. And I had a professional translator, Nicholas Smalley, who did a great job with the translation. But I was also heavily involved with the editing. I was updating the text with the latest results. And it's true also that all the interviews I did were done mostly in English. So that didn't have to be translated, of course. We had the original quotes there. But it was quite a lot of work, I have to say, to keep the book up to date when it was translated to English. Yeah.
So you currently live in, I don't know if this is one of the northernmost parts of Sweden. I'm going to try and pronounce it correctly. You're near the city of Luleå.
Yeah, Luleå, yeah.
Luleå, okay. And this is near the Arctic Circle. Why are you up there?
Yeah, exactly. So this is basically where the Baltic Sea ends. And I moved here about half a year ago because me and my partner basically felt that we wanted to live in northern Sweden. So I grew up in Stockholm and I lived there for a long time. But there's so much to see and do and explore up here. So yeah, and I work as a freelancer nowadays, as a science writer. So I can basically work from anywhere. So we stayed here, and what primarily attracted us, besides the snow and the cold and the ice and the darkness, was the northern lights, also and the stars. So you see a lot of northern lights here now.
So this isn't because you're interested in astronomy and you have a big telescope. You don't have your own observatory up there.
I don't have my own observatory. No, I just order a sky tracker so I can use some good cameras to photograph the sky. And for the northern lights, you don't need a telescope, of course. You just need a wide-angle lens to capture the entire sky. And I also do time lapses of the northern sky. So I put the camera out at night, I let it run throughout the night, and then when I wake up in the morning, I can check what happened this night with the northern lights, and it's great. I love it.
And so this is on your Instagram channel?
I put the occasion on my Instagram channel and also on YouTube, and I will probably put more stuff there now when my sky tracker, my star tracker is coming.
So how did you first get interested in astronomy?
Yeah, so I was not like a natural science kid or a math kid when I was young. So that came a little bit later in my early 20s. I was basically just watching a lot of science documentaries, and I didn't really know what to do with my life. So I decided that why don't I try to study astronomy at the university? So that's how it went. And very quickly I became very passionate about it, and also about the mathematics, and kind of gaining the confidence that I could do this kind of mathematics that's required. So I switched to theoretical physics. So that's actually my training is in physics, but I always leaned towards the astronomy and the cosmology side of it.
So what does an astrophysicist do?
So an astrophysicist, yeah, it's sometimes it's confusing. What's the difference? Astronomy, physics, astrophysics, cosmology. So you can say that astronomy, in one sense, it's all the same. Like when you look out into space, you want to understand what's going on there and apply the scientific method to learn that. So an astronomer is someone who looks at the skies, who knows all the techniques of how to use telescopes, how to observe very deep into the space, and so on. An astrophysicist, on the other hand, also does physical modeling. So it's about actually modeling all the phenomena that we see in space, how the stars work, how the galaxies rotate, all that stuff. So it's not only about the observation, but also about the theoretical modeling. And a cosmologist, that is someone who has as a study object the universe as a whole. So the entire universe is the thing you're studying.
So the theoretical underpinning of the Big Bang and the expansion of the universe, etc.
Yeah, all of that combined with all the observations. So that's roughly how it's done. And but behind all of that is, of course, physics. So all the natural laws, applying them to the universe and everything in it, and understanding how that works. So it's all connected, and it's a bit historical terminology.
I've always been interested in the idea of black holes, and they always seem like this kind of mysterious thing. And then I start reading your book, and it kind of freaked me out when you're describing what it's like to drift into a black hole and die. Is that really the way you want to capture readers to open a book like that?
Yeah, exactly. Like I write in the book, no author really wants to kill the reader on the first few pages. But, black hole, we often think of them as very mysterious. So the sensible thing to do to understand them is to put a human next to them. What would they do with a human? What would they do with our bodies? So it feels like a very natural way to start a book. Like, imagine being next to a black hole, going into it. What would you see? And I should add also that this the inspiration for that was scientific animations produced by a French astrophysicist, Alain Riachuelo. He used them for planetarium shows, and I also used that for planetarium shows. So then you actually visually get to see this entire process in a planetarium. So that was my original inspiration.
So it's nothing like in the film Interstellar?
Interstellar is based on the scientific theories of black holes. And then, of course, they added Hollywood speculations and, let's say, Hollywood makeup to the black holes to make them look even more interesting. So I think Interstellar does a very well job, actually, at displaying what it would be like a black hole. But then when they go into it, then you have a lot more speculation going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, because there are lots of people who believe in the multiverse theory and wormholes, etc. Is that part of your outlook on these things?
Yeah, I mean, if you browse through cosmology's paper and physics paper about black holes, there's definitely some very wild ideas out there, like you say, about wormholes and multiverse theories. For my part, I'm agnostic if wormholes could exist or not. I don't know. Potentially. Do we have multiverses? I don't know, potentially. The way I treat that now, so for the listener, I used to be a researcher in general relativity and physics, all that, but now I do full-time science writing. I treat it a little bit more sociologically to see that, okay, these are the ideas that we as humans here on this little planet Earth have come up with, looking out into the cosmos, and scientists seriously entertain them, that it could be possible, the existence of wormholes. So for me, it's more like seeing the scientists believing that these ideas could be true. That's how I treat it.
So it's more of a way of looking at the scientists ethnographically and seeing what their belief systems are.
Yeah, in a sense. So I've been traveling around now quite a lot, visiting scientists, visiting observatories, talking with them. And I mean, science is a human endeavor, and you see all of the emotions, all the prestige fighting, who doesn't want to win a Nobel Prize? That's also something that informs a lot of scientific work, this kind of prestige. So I do see that kind of human side more and more to the scientific project. But it's important to emphasize that even though all these human side to science is going on there in the background, we still manage to produce this objective knowledge about the universe. That's the important point.
But aren't there sometimes scientists who've devoted their entire life to a certain idea and they believe it's true? What happens if it gets disproven? How can they react to that?
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes comes from the German scientist Max Planck, who said that science progresses one funeral at a time. Meaning that you can have an old generation of scientists that sit at the senior positions and cling to their ideas, and you need a new generation to take over and put forward new bold ideas. So that can definitely happen. But I mean, scientists are also trained to be super critical against themselves, against other ideas. I mean, that's a big job of the scientific job description, is to shoot down both your own ideas and other people's ideas. So it comes with the job too.
I guess I'm going to cite another Christopher Nolan film, is the image we get of scientists in the Oppenheimer film, is this the way scientists really act?
It's a very good question. So, of course, that film is based on historical accounts of how it was during the Manhattan Project and so on. And I'm not really in a position to say how historically accurate it was, but for sure, I mean, it has to be very close to how it was. But I think there's a difference today how you do science compared to the days of Einstein and Heisenberg and Oppenheimer. Back then, you could be a single scientist, like one person doing calculations, pen and paper, and come up with brilliant ideas that were tested within a few months or few years and proven to be true. Today, if you want to test a new physical theory, often that takes the labor of thousands of scientists, huge billion-dollar project, constructions, new laboratories, if you really want to test like fundamental physics ideas. So it has changed a lot today that there's so much more people involved, and it's more like a collective project than an individual project.
Is this part of this that because scientists in this area, astrophysics, cosmology, have answered a lot of the basic questions and they're going a lot further now?
Yeah, in a sense. By the way, I should say also that the Manhattan Project was, of course, one of the first really big, large-scale state-sponsored projects. So that was the starting point of that. Yeah, in a sense, you're always going to have the easy result worked out first, right? And the kind of experiments that you can do in a small laboratory and so on. So today, for example, if we take something like the James Webb Telescope that tries to look as far as possible back to the early moments of the universe, I mean, it takes decades to build a telescope like that and billions of dollars. So it is harder to do science today, I think, in that sense.
Okay, basic question, why are black holes black?
Yeah, it's a basic but profound question. The easy answer is that black holes are black because they have so much gravity in them. They are so massive in the way they pull things in that not even light can escape them. So that's why they are black. But they are also black for another reason. Because if you would send out a light signal just outside of the black hole, outside of what's known as the event horizon, the surface of the black hole, that light signal would have to fight against all the gravity of the black hole to escape it and reach us. And it will lose a lot of energy in that process. So even the light that can escape the black hole very close from it will also have a very, very low frequency, a very, very low light, and will be very, very hard, almost impossible to see. So that's also another reason why black holes are black.
In the book, you mentioned Sagittarius A, which is at the center of the Milky Way, but that's kind of far from us, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So the closest supermassive black hole, so weighing over a million solar masses, in this case 4 million solar masses, that's, as you said, Sagittarius A star, sitting at the center of the Milky Way. That's 27,000 light years away. So that's quite far away. But we also have these kind of smaller black holes formed when heavy stars die, and they can be more closer, and they are scattered throughout the Milky Way. And the closest one so far is called Gaia BH1, and that one is 1,560 light years away. So that's the closest one known. And that was quite recently that the Gaia satellite identified that black hole. So we are always discovering new black holes in the Milky Way, in this case, by looking at how a star is orbiting the black hole.
Right. We can see the change in the star's movement because of the gravity of the black hole. Is that it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's also how you see the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy. Yeah.
Can a dead star be black but not have that supergravity?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this was one of the big questions, actually around the time of Oppenheimer, who contributed a lot to this question, or the answer to this question. It was, when a star stops shining, what does it become? What's the end state of a star? And physicists and astrophysicists, they worked out that it's actually 3 possible stages. It become a white dwarf, so that's the stage of the sun. So that's a star that keeps on shining because of its residual heat that it has built up throughout its nuclear burning phase.
So like a piece of charcoal on a barbecue?
Yeah, kind of. So eventually that one will go black, actually. Also, it will stop shining eventually. It can become a neutron star, which is a really fascinating object because it's like a star that is at the same time just a huge atomic nuclei. So everything in it has just transformed under the enormous pressure and gravities into neutrons. So that's another option, or it can become a black hole. So those are the three options as we know of right now for a star.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about black holes, and we're going to talk about how you use Scrivener. Writing a book, screenplay, or even a long article is a juggling act. You need to find the right words and the right structure, keep track of research, and refer to notes. Tailor-made for long writing projects, Scrivener is the go-to app for writers of all types. Scrivener combines a typewriter, binder, and corkboard in a single app. A project outline makes it easy to get an overview of your work and flip between sections. Refer to research alongside your writing, and just drag and drop to rearrange your work. Write in any order in sections as large or small as you like, and let Scrivener stitch it all together when you're ready to share your words with the world. With Scrivener, you'll find everything you need to start writing and keep writing. Scrivener is available for Mac, Windows, iPad, and iPhone. Download the free trial from scrivenerapp.com. Right now, with Scrivener listeners can get a 20% discount with the coupon code PODCAST. That's scrivenerapp.com. Is a black hole infinite? Is it a gateway to infinity?
In a sense. So first of all, we have the relativity of time near a black hole, meaning that if you're close to a black hole, still outside of it, and you're sending signals to me, so every second you're sending a radio signal to me, I, who are further away, will not receive a radio signal every second. So it could be 10 seconds, 1,000 seconds. It can be even millions of years between every tick that you're sending to me from your clock because of the relativity of time near a black hole. So this is something Einstein understood and in his general theory of relativity. And this time difference, this relativity of time, it can be infinitely large right at the surface of the black hole. So that's another reason we can't really understand what happens there, because it takes an infinite time for a succession of signals to reach us from there.
So does that mean that if I'm sucked into the black hole, I actually don't die? It's just time stretches out infinitely?
If you go into a large enough black hole, you can survive the journey through the event horizon. But for me, who's left on the outside, I will never really see you going into the black hole. So that's one of the weird paradoxes or weirdnesses that it took a long time for physicists to understand. How can this be possible? Then there's also another infinity inside the black hole, the singularity, the final point of doom inside the black hole, where the gravitational forces become infinitely large. So everything that approaches that point is infinitely stretched out. So in that sense, it's also an infinity there. But that point is also not very well understood yet. It's also a signal that our physical understanding of what goes on there breaks down.
Okay, let's get to some concrete things. Talk about how you use Scrivener.
Yeah, how do I use Scrivener? Yeah.
You said you have a list.
I have a list, exactly. I took some notes before we started this program because I think it's so nice to be on this podcast because, as a writer, you sit a lot just by yourself in front of the computer, writing, trying to optimize your workflow in the computer and all of that stuff. And very few people outside of the writing process understands what you're doing there. So now it's so nice just to be able to talk about the tools of the trade, kind of the program you're using. So I bought Scrivener when I started this writing project. I started writing a bit in Word in the beginning, but I felt like there's so much text, there's so much sources I'm using. This becomes a horrible mess. I need something more structured. And then I just Googled around and I found Scrivener and started using it. And I'm still using it now for other projects. And I find it great. So with everything, this 20-80 principle, 20% of the stuff you're using is used for 80% of your actual work. And I think it's the same here with Scrivener. What I primarily use it for is the binder. So the thing you have on the left where you can see all the different text sections that you're working with, and you can have subsections and folders and all of that. And when you work with an entire book, so 300, 400 pages in total and all the notes and everything, it becomes a lot of material, a lot of mass of text. And you need to have a structure in that. And very often maybe you write something and then you're like, oh, but this should actually go in that chapter, or I should change the order, and the flow of the text isn't quite working. So, and that's great in Scrivener, that you can restructure your text so easily, and also use like the corkboard, the outliner, these kind of things. So I'd say that's my primary reason for working with Scrivener.
Your chapters all have some exposition, and then they have you talking with one or more astronomers. And did you create separate files for each one of those sections where you're talking with someone, or did you have separate files for interviews that you dipped into to pull out quotes?
Yeah, that's something that changed a bit when I went deeper into the work process. So one crucial workflow change that I did like halfway through the project was that in the beginning, I had all my research material also in the Scrivener document, and all my interview quotes, all the text that I had assembled. But then it just became so big and very hard to overview. And I was also writing popular science articles about black holes and doing other writing assignments with my material. And I realized it became too messy to go into the Scrivener document and find my research material, because it was so interlinked with my writing material. So that's when I bought DevonThink, which is a database program. So I decided to split the writing part and the research part. So I stored all my research files in DevonThink to be able to pull out whatever I needed very quickly. It has a great search engine and so on. And then had all the writing part in the Scrivener document. And that was also important for just like a mindset shift, because when you write, you want to be in the writing mode. You want to be focused on that. And Scrivener has this great focus mode for writing. But if you're constantly in your writing, you find like notes and references and so on, it can interrupt the writing flow quite a lot. So for me, that was like the important part, to separate the writing and the research.
How long did it take for you to write the book?
5 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It took a long time.
And is this because you were doing it in between other things and life got in the middle, right? It wasn't 5 years end to end.
No, it was maybe like a half-time job to write. So I could spend half of my active work time writing, which was quite good, luxurious, I have to say. But first of all, it took a long time just to learn how to write. Like, it's a craft, it's a skill that you need to improve. I mean, you know this, you're a writer too. And so I spent a lot of time just honing my skills as a writer. And then it took also a lot of time just to be able to travel to all these institutes and interview people. And then maybe you heard about this thing called COVID that happened also. And that definitely slowed everything down quite a lot. So there was different factors, but I hope the next book will go faster. But it also taught me that a text is really a piece of living matter. Like it will have constantly evolve and change and exist in different versions. And it's a beast.
So what else about Scrivener?
Yeah, something I liked a lot about Scrivener was also for the editing process was to use the sync feature. So I also have Scrivener in my iPad. So when I'm at the final stage of a chapter, then I sync it with my iPad. And so when I'm sitting on the bus, I can just fire up my iPad, the Scrivener document, and I get the entire text, but without all the cluttering that you have when you're working on a laptop. You know, there's so much other things going on in your desktop. So then it's very focused, and I can sit and read the document like I'm just reading a text in the bus, in a train line. And then I can do more stylistic changes. And that's something I liked a lot. And then it syncs back into my laptop, and I can do the final exporting and so on later.
One thing that a lot of writers do is they write in one font and they edit in a different font.
Yeah.
And the difference between laptop and iPad is similar. You're in a different context. So in my writing as a journalist, I often draft an article on either my laptop or my iMac. Then I take my iPad and my Apple Pencil and I edit it there because I'm seeing something different.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it as a reader instead of as a writer at that point. So doing that with your Scrivener document means that you're getting outside of that bubble of sitting at the computer And as you say, you can look at it more stylistically and not worry about the structure at all.
Yeah. So I really like that feature. I have to say also I really like the Palantino default font in Scrivener.
You mentioned composition mode earlier. I think you called it focus mode. In English, it's composition mode. That's where you have the black background in the screen, right? That's what you were talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And did you work a lot like that? Because, of course, that's you writing text with a black hole as a background for the
exactly,
text, right?
Writing straight into the black hole. Yeah, I use that a lot. Like, it's so important to just zoom out or zoom in or whatever you want to call it, lock in into the writing and focus. And I mean, it's a lot of discussion today about your attention and focus being the most valuable commodity that you have as a kind of worker. And then so I use that a lot. And you also have different ways of writing at different stages in your process. When you write at the beginning stages, writing a chapter, you just need to brain dump everything that's in your brain. It can be how badly written as you like. You just need to turn off that internal critic and just get everything out there. And then I also find this focus mode very good for just writing. And another feature also that I enjoyed a lot is this just statistics feature and tracking feature. So you can see when you come to the stage where you need to finish chapters and they need to have a certain word count, you can track that very well and see how far you progress on the entire book. So that's also very good.
A couple more questions about black holes, because astrophysicists talk about how there's a huge amount of dark matter in the universe. Are black holes dark matter? Are black holes part of the dark matter?
Yeah, black holes could be dark matter. We don't know yet. So dark matter is basically that when astronomers look out into the universe, they see that there should be more mass there due to its gravitational influence than what they can account for when they look at all the stars, all the gas, all the planets, all the galaxies. There just has to be more mass there. And that mass does not interact with light, so we can't see it. So that's why it's called dark matter. It's some kind of unknown matter. And that kind of fits the bill with black holes, right? It's something dark, it doesn't interact with light, and so on. But if we take all the known black holes, so we can, based on modeling, we can know how many black holes there are, I mean, anchored to how many we observe. Right now.
You suggest there are 40 quintillion black holes in the universe.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still not enough to account for all the dark matter that we know is out there. There are some theories that it could be something called primordial black holes that could still be a part of this dark matter. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. We're not 100% sure yet. But dark matter could also be something completely different.
How does it feel to be researching something where you know that in your lifetime you will not find the answer?
It feels great. Yeah. No, but we live in the golden age of black hole astronomy. There's so much new material, observations, theoretical ideas coming out right now. There's so many people working on this. And so we are learning a lot about black holes right now. So I'm feeling very lucky, I think, to be able to be a part of this and write about it and tell other people about it. So it's a good time. Yeah.
But you say it's a golden age now, but in 10 years will it be more golden as we're learning more? I think I just saw on the news on the BBC a new telescope that was just brought online someplace. So that's going to, extend your vision a little bit further, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's going to be the golden age of black hole astronomy in the 30s. No, but there are some very major astronomical observations that's going to happen in the 2030s. So we are definitely going to learn even more about them. Yeah.
Okay, I like to ask my guests if they have a book that they can recommend, either something you've read recently or a book that's profoundly influenced you in your writing and your career.
Right. Okay, I'm a bit on the spot here. So I'm just going to say the book I'm reading right now is by Ed Jung called An Immense World. So it's a quite famous nonfiction book about animal sensing. And it's very dense. It's very fact heavy. He goes through basically all the senses and even senses you barely could believe existed in the animal world. But it is really one of these kind of books when you read it, you're like, wow, the world is so much different and bizarre than you would have imagined before. So I recommend that one. Yeah.
Jonas Enander, your book is Facing Infinity. Thanks so much for talking with me.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed the podcast, please follow it in Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. To learn more about Scrivener, go to scrivenerapp.com. Join us next month for another conversation on Right Now with Scrivener.